Hello class, welcome back to this whiteboard session. I wanted to introduce DEXA scan. Traditionally, DEXA scan was just used to measure bone density, but we've learned over time that it is a wonderful way to track body composition, right? Your percent body fat, your percent fat-free mass, and also where that, fat and fat-free mass is located. Do you have symmetry left and right in your body, upper and lower? How much visceral fat do you have, which also can be used to predict cardiovascular risk. So it is a very good medical use, but it also has nice performance aspects too in terms of tracking your percentages of your fat and muscle over time. So a lot of athletes really like to use it. Okay, so today we're going to talk about body fat and body composition, its associations with chronic disease, as well as both applications to clinical practice and research. We can briefly review the assessment and measurement techniques. Some of these include using anthropometrics and measuring body fat with the calipers, where you pinch the skin. Air and water displacement is an interesting one, but probably what most people are familiar with is either when you go to the gym or a health fair and you grab those handles and it sends a small electrical current called bioimpedance, which is not very accurate, contrasted with DEXA scan, which is an X-ray, very low energy X-ray technique, which is actually very, very accurate. But first we need to review body fat and what's called BMI. That is your body mass index. It's measured in how many kilograms you weigh divided by your height in meters squared. So first we have underweight if you're actually too thin, which is anything under 18 or 18.5. Then you have what's considered normal, which is going to be in the green here, 18.5, 24.9. Then, unfortunately, we have the higher categories where we start going into overweight, which is anything from 25 to 29 or 29.9. And unfortunately, the last category is obesity, which is actually divided into three separate classes of obesity. The first class being greater, than 30, and that goes from 30 to 34.9. The next class is obviously going to be 35, and that goes up to 39, and then unfortunately anything 40 and above is the highest class of obesity. Anyone who is overweight is considered at increased risk in terms of BMI-associated diseases. High risk would be obesity, very high would be second-class obesity, and extremely high risk would be that third class of obesity. And there's actually some interesting graphs out there looking at mortality ratios plotted against your BMI in 10-year age cohorts. So you can see here, even in your 20s, all the way up to 60s and above, you are certainly at increased risks when you go into the higher BMI levels here at all ages, even in your 20s. In this area over here, this is obviously where we want to be in. The BMI associated with the lowest mortality, or at the bottom of the curve there, is anywhere from around 21 to 24 or borderline 25. So that's why it's important. Now, how do we measure body fat and body composition? Now, you can use calipers, and we have these in our clinic here, and they're okay for a basic measurement. We also had one of these in my clinic. This is an example of an impedance or bioelectrical impedance, or BIA, and this has been proposed to be a little more accurate, but it's actually not. It sends a mild electrical current through the body, and it proposes to measure the water content, which you could loosely translate into your muscle mass versus non-water content or fat content, and give you a percentage. But actually neither of these have very good accuracy. Validity data is lacking, and then test-retest reliability all are subpar. So the real winner in all of this is going to be the DEXA scan, or dual X-ray absorptiometry. Absorptiometry. Sorry, I gotta write that one out to say it right. And this is great because this device can help us to measure your visceral adipose fat, or your VAT, also called your central adiposity, or too much fat in the midsection or the center of your body. All right, so if we have someone standing from the side and we have a certain layer of fat in the belly, Well, some of us also unfortunately develop an extra layer of visceral fat surrounding the organs. And too much visceral adipose tissue can lead to insulin resistance, high blood pressure, high cholesterol levels, and heart disease, unfortunately. This has also been loosely described as having either apple-shaped or pear-shaped fat, or android and gynoid fat. Sorry for the crude drawing here, but if someone has most of their fat located centrally or right about their midsection in a more square-shaped or roughly apple-shaped, that correlates to a higher level of visceral fat, versus someone who has more of their fat collecting around their, well, basically their butt and their thighs, or the lower level without so much central fat. It's a little bit more spread out here. That's much healthier. This is not. So here we have android fat, and here we have gynoid. So it's a little safer, a little healthier to have more of your fat around the thighs and the butt, but not fat around the midsection or the, quote, beer belly, so to speak. All right, so the other neat thing that DEXA can measure is muscle mass. So this is a picture of a DEXA scan. On the left, obviously, we're looking at the bones, but on the right, we can actually see what's going on in terms of muscle mass and fat mass. Interestingly, the grayscale and the pixelation, the DEXA scan can differentiate between fat and muscle. Now, why do we care about that? Well, it's for a condition called sarcopenia. So sarcopenia is a decrease in the size and number of muscle fibers. It's atrophy. Atrophy of both type 1 and type 2 muscle fibers, or the slow twitch or fast twitch muscle fibers, and we reviewed that in one of the other talks regarding VO2 max. Interestingly, there's a lot of data supporting that there's a greater loss of those fast twitch or type 2 muscle fibers in sarcopenia, and that can make a big difference in terms of physical function, overall mobility, functional impairment, and disability. So sarcopenia might be about 5 to 10% present in 50, 60, 70-year-olds, can be from 11 to 50% prevalent in people up and beyond into the 80s there, but actually even starting in your 30s, amazingly, if you don't regularly exercise, you're going to start getting sarcopenia. You're going to start getting atrophy of the muscles. So it's the old use it or lose it certainly applies here. So the more lean body mass or muscle mass you have, the better off you are in terms of overall physical function, mobility, and quality of life. And we can measure that very nicely and accurately via DEXA. So here we go. So here is an example of what we're talking about. This is the analysis that we get when someone gets a DEXA scan, and we can see, as you can see here, we can look at arms, legs, the left, the right, the upper body versus the lower body, even the left side of the trunk versus the right side of the trunk. Interesting little fun fact there. The heart does increase the left trunk mass by just a little bit because the heart is the muscle. Although actually there are a significant proportion of people that have a more centrally located heart. So in this subject here, you can see the left trunk mass is slightly higher in terms of comparison to the right trunk mass in terms of lean body mass there, 28 versus 27. Another little interesting tidbit there, about 10% difference in the left to right lean body mass is considered within normal limits, but if you go greater than 10% in terms of your left to right lean body mass, for example, if you look at leg left and leg right in terms of lean body mass here in this subject, they're doing okay here, only 19.7, 19.3, not a significant difference. But if you have greater than 10%, you are risking musculoskeletal orthopedic injury due to altered biomechanics. Another interesting fact is that only about 40% of total muscle strength, 35% in some other studies, is attributable to purely the muscle mass measured on DEXA scan. Conversely, about 60% of your muscle strength is actually attributed to other factors such as neuromuscular recruitment, efficiency, things like that. So it's not all about the mass, but it is a very important factor here. In fact, there's some interesting models in terms of prediction of needing assistance at older age when you start to get sarcopenia. If you are a male and you have on measurement less than 7.1 kilograms of lean body mass per meters squared of height of the appendicular skeleton, not the axial skeleton, which appendicular means arms and legs, axial means your spine. So if you look at the arm and leg lean mass, and it's less than 7.1 in males, or less than 5.4 kilograms per meter squared in females, that certainly predicts needing assistance in older age, being admitted to a nursing home, and that's really a target that we're trying to hit with our older patients that are starting to get sarcopenia. So those are a lot of the clinical numbers that we look at in terms of medical practice, but there's certainly some self-explanatory performance examples here. If you're an athlete and you're looking to obtain better symmetry in the right to left arm versus the right to left leg, you can use these numbers and track this serially over time. Also, if you're looking to see how your training program is progressing in terms of developing quad strength versus arm strength, you can look at your numbers and see how you're progressing. So that's muscle. Now let's move on to fat. Now, in general, a nice, healthy range of body fat for health, if you are male, is going to be about 20 to 25% body fat. For female, it's considered a little bit higher here, 25 to 30% in terms of body fat. So as you can see in this subject here, we are at total 22% body fat, so we are in a healthy range. But you can also look at fat distribution, and that's where the android and gynoid parameters come in. You can see they're actually labeled very easily to find them. So your ideal android to gynoid ratio should roughly be about a 1-to-1, or in more ideal situations, about a 0.8-to-1 if you can. The higher the android amount, the higher the cardiovascular and metabolic risk for metabolic syndrome and its associated problems down the road. If you look in this subject here, we have 20 versus 24.2, so we're certainly under a 1-to-1 ratio. In fact, that comes out to, in this case, a 0.86. Sorry, I'm not drawing that well. There we go, 0.86 ratio. So this subject is actually doing fairly well and is not at significant increased cardiovascular and metabolic risk. Another common goal that we talk about is the total amount of android fat in absolute numbers should be less than 5 pounds in ideal situations. So android fat less than 5 pounds, and in this case we're doing okay here at 2.1. And finally, and in some circles perhaps most importantly, is the estimated visceral adipose tissue. And the goal visceral fat, actually in ideal situations, would be less than 1 pound, and you could see that down here, very easily listed here. We are at 0.46, so we're doing okay there. So there you have it. That's how we can use DEXA scan to measure body fat, body composition, looking at left to right body fat, left to right muscle mass, estimating visceral adipose tissue, to help our clients and patients improve their overall health and ultimately athletic performance as well.